This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Selling a little or a lot? Do your thing however you cha-ching with Shopify, the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. 36% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. Get a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/offer23.
Bienvenidas al podcast Dos Bold Latinas. Aquí están sus hosts, Jatna Abreu
y Josibel Madera Vialet, dos latinas feministas born in Santo Domingo y in New York.
Passionate about Latina empowerment, Spanglish,
learning, growth, and so much more.
Hola, mujeres. We have had many questions about how to start a podcast. So today we wanted to take the time to talk about how you can do that, how you can start your own podcast. So again, we're just going to keep it short and we're going to go straight to the point because we know that that's, important for you to know exactly like what the steps are to create the podcast. So let's just go ahead and get started. So, of course, it all starts with an idea and motivation. Obviously, like if you are thinking about creating a podcast, it's because you have that desire, you have that determination and motivation to want to share something specific with a bunch of people, like with an audience. So in order for you to do that, there are a few things you need to do to actually be able to get started with the podcast. And so the first thing we would, based on our experience, and I want to say this again, these are things that, yes, and Rosie can attest to this, but everything we're telling you to do to start your own podcast is based on what we've done.
Yes.
We know that there's other people that may have done it differently, which is okay, but we're just sharing here like what worked for us specifically.
Correct.
And so for the first thing that you'll have to do is just find your audience. So find your niche. You want to make sure that you figure out what topic or topics you're passionate about or you care about and you really want to share like information about that topic with a lot of people. And then within that, you want to make sure that you know who your audience is based on those topics that you want to share with those people. And then, just think about how you would make yourself unique within the audience. So based on those topics, like who are those people that would want to listen to you talk about, that specific topic and that specific, situation or whatever it is you're really trying to just share with other people. So that would be number one. Again, find your niche or your audience.
Yes, I love that because sometimes you may think like, oh, I have an idea, but the market is saturated with all these same topics. But think about, is everyone speaking about it in the same perspective? So maybe you have an idea, you have a topic, and you have a different, unique perspective of connecting with the community. And I know we always talk about staying authentic, but I really, really want you to focus on that and staying true to yourself when you are choosing your niche. So don't choose a niche just because you're like, oh, I can get the most followers. Choose it because you, like Jana said, you are passionate about that. So I just wanted to throw that out there, Jana.
Yeah.
Because that was something that was with us because we're like, oh, Latina empowerment. We started researching when we started and we're like, oh, there's more podcasts out there than we thought. But we, like, as you guys have noticed that we now have guests and we are focusing on local Latinas and entrepreneurs. And to us, that makes us unique. Anyway, so moving on to number 2 is find the gadgets you would want to use to record and edit your podcast based on your budget. So I remember Jana and I were like, oh my gosh, we could spend thousands of dollars if we want. We want to start out fancy. And of course, we want to start with the best. We were like, okay, let's be realistic and let's start with baby steps. So think about how much can you really spend. And right now, it's like even easier to start because there's so much out there that you could even record on your phone. But we're here telling you how we're doing it and how we're started. So we did get a microphone. We did get an audio interface, and we do have a software to edit a podcast with. Right now, we are using GarageBand, which is interfaced with a Apple computer. So if you have a Apple computer, GarageBand is totally free to record your podcast on.
Yes. So again, for us, obviously we each got our own microphone because there's two of us. So we don't really record with one. For the two of us, like we each have our own. And then, something that we didn't mention within this, but when we do have guests, we do, maybe you're wondering like how we do that, but with the guests, like we do it through Zoom. Like right now, since with the pandemic, and everything going on, we just felt like we could use like an online, like platform and just like meet with our guests. And then we record the session with the guests. I mean, we always ask them like, make sure that you're not in a place where there's a lot of noise, and maybe you wear some headphones so that like, we can hear you well. And then same thing, we do the same thing on our end. So to make sure that there's no noise and things like that. And then we record it, and then we use the GarageBand like on the Mac, and then we edit it from there. So
and like you may have heard our podcast, and you have been hearing that our sound quality has improved. Like our first episode, we were holding our microphone like very far away from our mouth, or we were moving. I guess we were excited. We were new, so we were like, "Oh my gosh!" We started looking into changing our microphones, and then we just noticed something as simple as hold your microphone a fist away from your mouth, and that's really gonna help. So don't get caught up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need a fancy microphone. Test it out, and where you're gonna be recording from, and see if it works for you. And then also for Zoom, you may notice that when we started doing interviews, we had to learn. So I just want to throw this out there that if you start and you're like, oh, this is not working out for me, the quality is not as good, don't stop, don't give up, because the more you start recording, the more you'll start learning. And maybe it's just you had to close your door from the room you're in, or because the first time we recorded also, Jana, we were in my house, and it was in my dining room, and mine's is open space, so we had no doors. So it's like things that you don't think about, and then after you record and you do trial and error, then it's like you start adapting. So just want to throw that out there too.
Yes, definitely. And so for step number 3, you will need to choose a platform, which this is where you will upload your podcast episodes. And so for us, we researched a lot on this topic because there are so many different platforms out there for podcasting. And so it was really hard for us to choose one that like would work specifically for us. And just so you know, like you do have to pay for the podcast platform. I do want to put that out there. So we do pay for hosting our podcast episodes on there. So, finding a platform that works for our budget, and then, that it was user friendly, that it would help with like all the back end stuff for us rather than us having to do all the work is something that we wanted. And so for that reason, we ended up choosing Buzzsprout. And Buzzsprout, hands down, again, like that was the first one we picked because based on what we needed, but like hands down, it's been the platform that has worked so good for us, especially because they have been coming out with a lot of like features too, where like there's also an option or a feature in there that like it's called like mastering something. I can't remember the name, but essentially what it does is that like it takes away like all the background noise from your audio.
I think it's called Magic.
Yeah, exactly. Magic. Like it takes away all the background noise from your episode. And if you're like way too far away, or your guest is really far away from like the, like the microphone from their computer, or like us from our microphone, like it makes you sound a lot louder than it just sounds very professional, clean and professional.
The audio quality definitely improves,
and we love that. So again, it was super user friendly, and because it just in the back end, what it does is that it it uploads all of our episodes to all the major podcast listening apps. And again, super user friendly. And the apps, when I say like all major, podcast listening apps, is like,
Spotify,
Apple, exactly.
Apple Podcast,
and you
Amazon.
name it. Anything that.
Where else are we on?
Oh, there's a lot. Like they have a
Yeah.
lot of different platforms. And so it just does it on the back end for us, and we don't really have to worry about it. And so one thing, there's a plug here that we want to let you know. So if you're interested in creating your own podcast, we do have a referral link you can use to launch it on Buzzsprout, which we added to our description on here on this episode, but also on our Instagram bio link. So you can sign up. If you sign up to get your own profile and your own, and you pay a plan for Buzzsprout, you will get a $20 Amazon gift card. So it's a good deal, I would say. So, I mean, you can do your research, but right now, they're offering that Amazon gift card, but it's also, like we're saying, because we have been using it, it works great for us. So
Yes, it definitely has made it easy. Like I remember, yes, at the beginning, you will have to sit down and set it up. Because I remember, Jana, we spent a couple hours doing it. And we were like, oh my gosh, I don't think we would have done this on our own, because you have to, what did we say? We had to hold each other accountable to get it done. So Jana would say, so see how you do this? And then I would say, Jana, how you do this? And we were just doing it. So, but after you get your account ready on Buzzsprout, like Jana, I'll come to Jana's house and we'll record. And then she was like, no, I'll upload the episode. I'm like, and I always feel like, no, but I'm not doing anything. She's like, no, it's done with a breeze. So
it's really that simple, guys. Like, I think and we'll talk about this like in a little bit, but the only hassle would be if you had to like edit your episode a lot. That's what's going to take the longest, because you have to re-listen to your entire episode, depending on how long it is. That's going to take time. And then you have to go back and like literally like edit all that, whatever it is you want to edit out of it, to make it sound, kind of professional. But we, like it just, for us, like, once you you have it done and ready, and after you've done that, like it's a click, literally, like you file and just pull it over to Buzzsprout, and it's just like upload it and it's done.
Yes. And if you're thinking about like, oh, what if I do batches of episodes and I want to, ¿cómo se dice? Like schedule them. You can also do that on Buzzsprout. Yes. Like we're telling you, like anything that you think of to make your life easy, Buzzsprout is there. And they have so many articles of how-tos that's insane.
Or in YouTube videos as well.
Yes. And they email you every week with tips on, how to grow your podcast. We could just go on. But let's move on to what other step after you have that is create your brand. Yes, it's so important, because at this point, you will need to decide on your podcast name, your logo, your intro and outro song, so that little jingle. So pretty much anything related to your podcast brand. Remember that those colors that you decide to be aligned with who you are, because we want that when people see your podcast, if they see any advertisement or any Instagram posts or anything, that they're like, yep. Like for us, we know that when people see a lot of pink, they're like, oh, there goes dosboldlatinas, because that's what we chose, our color scheme. And if you're wondering like, oh, where did you create your logo and everything? Jana created her logo on Canva, and this was done for free. All of our Instagram posts are done on Canva. As you know, we have merch also designed. It's done on Canva. I'm going a little bit out of the podcast, but just so you know that once you create all of your branding for your podcast, Canva is the way to go. And if you feel stuck at the beginning, just keep practicing, because let me tell you, Jana, she's our creative here out of both of us. And my designs sucked, but she would tell me, just keep going. So that's for you. Like if you don't know like how to get started, just keep going, keep playing with it. And you'll see that Canva has a lot of pre-designed work that you could just edit. So if you have a word in mind, like if you have girl power. If you type in girl power on Canva, you'll get so many designs, for example. So if you have a specific term in mind for a clip art, type it in on Canva and you can get started with your logo that way.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. And so for the next step, now that you know all about branding and how you can do that, and even an actual platform where you can go and get it done, the next thing you'll need to do is to decide on a cadence to release your podcast episodes. So, for example, we started releasing one episode per month just because, we were still trying to learn about podcasting and our content and how we wanted this, our podcast to look like and what we wanted to share on there. So we just did, once a month just so that we can get acclimated and comfortable with, sharing content and things like that. So we did that. But once we got comfortable, like I said, then we started. Now we create 2 episodes a month and we release them twice a month. And so it's been working for us. I don't know. Maybe in the near future, we will do more than 2 episodes. But I think for us, because we have a life, aside from, being dosboldlatinas, we have jobs, we're moms, we're married. And so for us, I think we can manage is 2 episodes a month, and I think it's been working great for us. So we'll probably continue doing that. But it's just for you deciding based on your life, based on your situation, how much content can you put out there. That's basically what it is.
Yes, and stay consistent. Once you choose the cadence, stay consistent because your audience will be waiting for it. If you say, I'm going to do one weekly and then you stop, then your audience gets disengaged. So really, really consistency is the key. And then lastly is record your first episode, man. If you really are thinking about it, just do it. Just get started. You're never going to be fully prepared. You have no idea. My hands still sweat. And we're into episode almost 30, I think. Mm-hmm. So just get started and edit it if you need to. Here at dosboldlatinas, we barely edit. Well, I'm not going to say we. Jana barely edits. And upload your podcast to the upload it to the podcast platform that you choose and share away. Maybe to be honest, sometimes if you feel like it wasn't that good, it'll be okay because you won't have that many people listening to it at the beginning. And that gives you that time to keep making it better and better. So on the editing portion, we try to not edit a lot of our episodes. So because we want to keep them we want them to feel as informal and natural as possible, as if we're having a conversation us as friends. So it's up to you how much you want to edit your episodes. Some people hire people to edit your episodes. That's all up to you. Mm-hmm. But at the beginning, just get started. And we're here to answer any questions. So I just want to remind you that we do have the links on our bio and also on the description of this episode on the platform you're listening to, Apple Podcasts or Spotify. So if you're thinking which type of podcast gadgets did you get? If you go on our Instagram and you click on our bio, you'll find Amazon finds. And on there, you'll see which microphone we use and which audio interface we use. We remember that we use Buzzsprout, so we also have that Buzzsprout link. So if you want to get started with podcasting, just click on that link, get started with Buzzsprout. So just as a reminder, now that we came to the end of what we have done so far to have started the podcast, dosboldlatinas. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, everything you need to know about creating your own podcast. Again, please reach out if you ever have any questions on how to do this. We will be happy to help because this is what the mission and vision of dosboldlatinas is, that we're living our best lives out here, and it's all about loving ourselves. And I feel like that's what we have done with this platform, just having relatable content. And we really want to inspire you that if you have an idea to start a podcast, to start it. So with that said, also, if you enjoy our podcast, go on Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. We will highly appreciate it. So, hasta la próxima.
Ciao.
Ciao.